Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys, I have a treat. I had to literally pull this person out of their YouTube bubble. I have the African Tigress, aka the Kenyan sister. If you know anything about Black YouTube, African YouTube, you have seen one of her videos at least. She is growing, she is in the full space. She's also a contributor on the African Diaspora News channel and probably other platforms that I don't even know about. But African Tigress, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kellen. I I appreciate. It's been long. We planned this for so long. I know.
And it should not be anything that we have to plan too much because I can talk to African Tigress anytime. She was very helpful before and during and after when I went to Kenya, and I can talk to African Tigress, a true friend. But when trying to get her on the show, she's like, "What are you gonna ask me? I don't know if I want to talk about that. I don't know if I'm ready," because African Tigress likes to sometimes play the shy tigress. But
But I am.
yeah, and so I want to talk about we can talk about YouTube, and I want to then go into your other businesses. So prepare your mind. But what got you started, and why did you want to do YouTube?
Well, it was just a hobby, but basically, I love traveling. So a lot of times after my travel, if I lose my phone, I lose all my content. If my laptop crashes, I lose everything. So basically, I just wanted a place to store the content, my videos and photos from traveling. So in fact, my very first videos, a number of them are private because they were like personal videos. And then along the way, my sister was like, you can still do this. So she started showing me vlogs and people and all that. I was like, okay, this is actually something I could look at. And basically that's how I started. And once you start going into it, it's hard to stop.
Okay, and being a traveler like you were, tell the people how you travel, because I think a lot of times when people see African YouTubers travel the way you travel, they automatically say, "Oh wow, they're rich. They must have be an ambassador's daughter or something." But you were kind of double dipping on your traveling, where for your other ventures, you would you would double dip. So explain to people how you did that so they can kind of learn how you do it without millions and millions of dollars.
Okay, so initially it was all work related. I would travel maybe for work, trainings, conference, programs, and all that. So you find that in such cases, sometimes everything is paid for, and sometimes maybe they pay part of it, you pay the other part of it. So whenever I could travel, I could extend my stay, and then that's when I would do visit places, check out the people, the environment, and all that. But then later on, it's just through savings, and you have to work with a budget. You don't have to travel like everybody does, so you work with your budget.
Okay. And what type of work were you doing when you were traveling? Because you've been to so many countries on the continent, and I mean even outside of the continent.
I've done stuff to do with the sustainable development goals. I've done advocacy issues. I've worked with different international organizations, and also my startup.
Okay, so besides the startup, all those other things, they sound very government related. Is that correct?
No, not government related. I foundations. I can say it's foundations like Kellen Foundation.
Okay, so like, are these NGOs?
Kind of.
Okay. And how did you get started doing that type of work?
When I was in school, I started doing volunteer work when I was at university. So when I got to my first year, I registered a club at the university. So basically what I was trying to do was to bridge the gap between the education and the outside world, because a lot of times the education system, what we learn sometimes might not be what is actually the practicability of it is different in the field. So I would get people from who are experts in a certain field, and they would get to connect with students, talk to students, mentor them, and if they have opportunities, they could create them. And I also wanted, I was also doing it such that if there's a student who's talented and maybe is good in design and stuff like that, there's no point of me going to look for a designer outside when my fellow student can actually give me those services. So basically, it was just trying to bring these people together, and we could use each other to grow as a team. So as such that if you're an entrepreneur, you're starting, at least you have people who will support your business in the immediate environment, your fellow students and all that. So I started that. That was in first year. When I was in my first year, second semester, the students proposed that I go for a student leadership position. So I was like, I don't want. How am I going to handle this? I'm on my attachment. I need to do this. They told me, no. Whether you like it or not, you're going to go for this position. And I was like, no, let me think about it. They were like, no, you have to tell us now. I was like, okay, cool, fine. So how it started, they just posted on social media. The university had this group. So they posted on social media that I'm going for the Director Academic Affairs. So for me, I was just there reading the comments, seeing how people are going to take it. Well, I went into it. I got elected. I won the elections. Now, like I started, and then now I got a position to reach out more to students and just push for certain things that the students needed. And during that time also, social media is a good place. A lot of people think it's a distraction, but it can actually be a very good place. Because during that time, I think the people who had seen what I'm doing and what I post on social media, they connected me with this organization. It's called Uraia Kenya. It's mostly about the constitution. This particular project was about the constitution and the 2/3 gender policy, which is a policy that we have in Kenya, whereby not more than 2/3 of a certain committee, be it leadership or whatever, should be of the same gender. So someone tagged me that they were having an opportunity in that and I should apply for it. They had recommended me. So I went for it, I got it. So I started working with the grassroots women, with that organization, Uraia Kenyan Foundation for Women Rights in Kenya. And I think that's how I got myself into that space.
So from a volunteer to being able to travel, to various countries, and then taking that and saying, I'm going to film these things. And here you are, making, so many, hundreds of thousands of just views online. I mean, could you have imagined when you started that this is where life would have took you? Like, was there any kind of plan?
To be honest, no, because actually what I did after uni, I started because now I was transitioning from the university to the outside world, as I can call it. As I was transitioning, I registered an organization in my community. So we could work with women and youths because they are the marginalized sections of the community. The youths and the women, they are the most vulnerable in the community. So we started doing a lot of stuff. And then I also introduced medical camps because my background is in healthcare. So we could do medical camps. We could do campaigns, in some places whereby there's anti-jigger campaigns and all that, anti-drug and alcohol campaigns, reaching out to students and the young people in the community. So along the way, we faced challenges because the governor felt like we were being a threat. So whatever we were doing, it was being frustrated by the governor. So we had to we felt like our life was important and we didn't want so much. So me and the team, we just decided, because even the project that we could write and all that, we proposed and we write to the Ministry of Gender and all that. They later on hijack the project and everything and brand it like theirs. Because the problem is the leaders have, in most cases, employed old people. It's not bad to be old. It's okay to be old, but they've employed old people who are not creative in what the young people need. So when you're talking about the office of the youth, gender and sports, but you're employing someone who is like 80 years old, this person is not in touch with the current trends and all that and what the young people want. So like we felt that they were now using us because we could write a proposal and everything. They take it and make it theirs and then they invite us as guests, yet we are the ones who wrote everything. So from that point, we kind of moved, but I really never thought never thought about YouTube, and no, it wasn't in the plan.
And what you're describing is an issue that, the elder generation and the folks coming up who actually know the technology globally, we're all having the same issues and having to say, either be able to adjust or retire. So I definitely understand that. Now, with the business of being a YouTube, some people think, oh, people are on YouTube just because they couldn't find a job. Clearly, that wasn't your case. Like many, you decided to put, a full-time effort into YouTube as well as your businesses. Tell the people, is YouTube, a way to get rich? Because I think other folks think, oh, you're just doing YouTube because it's so much money. They think that YouTube, is paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to every creator.
No. To be honest, no. It works for some, but if you're going to YouTube, I would say if you're going to YouTube thinking that you're going to make money instantly, you'll be super disappointed and depressed. So I don't think going to it thinking that, oh, I'll get monetized, I'll start making lots of money and all that, then I'll quit my job. I've seen a lot of people who do everything they could to get the first 1,000 subscribers, and then they push whatever it takes, even if it's running empty live streams whereby I see people, they say silent stream, whereby now they put just something, the camera is recording and it's recording nothing, like they just put it on a wall or facing something. I've seen people doing that. So people do that and then they get the watch time. After they've gotten that and they get monetized, they realize that the money is not as much as they thought. And a lot of people end up going back and they quit doing YouTube. So I think it's passion. If you're going for it for the money, then you'll have to put a lot of work. And you should just ensure that you don't get discouraged along the way.
How many hours would you say in a week do you put into your YouTube?
I put a lot. I can say, oh my goodness, it's a lot of time. I can't even, you can put 4 times, we can put 4 times 7, that is 28.
Okay.
It's more than 28 because sometimes if I'm doing the sit downs and editing, that's also a lot. When I'm checking content and researching on what I'm going to put the videos about, it's also a lot because you need to do research. You just don't sit and start streaming. So I would say it's a lot. It's probably 40 hours or something.
And with that, the 40 hours, are you seeing what you would see at a job that you put 40 hours in? Would you say more money or less money?
If I did a job 40 hours, a different job 40 hours.
Okay. So, is it about equal, or is it the job is more money for sure?
Well, it depends with the job. To be honest, it depends with the job that you do. But so far, I'm satisfied.
Okay.
Yeah, so far I'm satisfied. Like the more you put, the more effort you put, yes, the reward is also bigger. Just that. Put more effort into editing your videos, learning a lot of things about it, yes, then the reward is bigger. It's basically that.
And the picture that I want to paint is, and I want you to tell me, your experience for the jobs that you have. Is it more beneficial? Would it be more beneficial for you to just work a job and make more money or about the same? Or is YouTube, are you able to make more money on YouTube than you would working at a job that you would accept?
Well, now I would compare it to probably my startup, right? My startup is at the beginning phases, so there's basically no revenue. I put about equal times for both. So at least it's able to fund my life as I'm building this other thing. But at the long run, I know my startup would give me more than YouTube.
Okay. And I didn't want it to be an either or. It's just that, even here in America, 40 million people have lost their job, and folks are calling and saying, how can I replace that income? I've heard about this YouTube thing, but that same conversation is being had in Turkey too. And people think, oh, let me turn on this camera. So when they hear this interview and they hear, oh, well, if I put 40 hours in, maybe it's possible that I can, change my my situation. And it's not a guarantee, because your, CPM is going to be different than somebody who's in Japan or somebody who is in Florida, and that you've already started. So that's what I was getting to, because you're such on an entrepreneurial kick where if you're not, going to kill your food, you're not going to eat. So I guess you love the freedom that you have in your startup and in your
Obviously.
yeah. And that freedom, can you explain that freedom for those who want to feel that? Like, what is it about, being able to kill and eat your own food that you enjoy so
much? Honestly, I got employed for 1 week. I think 1.5 weeks. So when I finished my undergrad, I moved out of a city where I was staying with my parents and all that. It was a hard decision to make, because moving to the city, Nairobi, without a job, without anything apart from the few savings I had, $700. So moving was hard, and it took me almost 1 year in order for me to, I started a business. There's a business I started immediately after that. And after 1 year, I kind of started seeing the fruits. But before then, I tried a number of things. I tried, there's this thing of selling policies, insurance. Unlike the US or wherever, where people know it's automatic and it's obvious for them to have insurance, here you have to sell. So you are like an agent. So I have to meet you, Kellen, and convince you why you need a life policy or an education policy for your child. Because uptake of insurance is at 3%. It was so hard. I didn't even sell one. I was just trying to survive. So it was so hard. I didn't sell any. And after a while, I was like, okay, fine. This thing is not working for me. I need to find something else to do. I got a job, and I got tired by the second week. In fact, the first day, the next week, on about day 9, I overslept. When I got up, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's late. I can't make it to work. Let me call in sick. I called in sick. Then the next day I overslept, and that's how I quit the job. I was like, this thing is not for me. I think I was getting frustrated by being overworked, and they were not paying me in relation to that. So they were also giving me administration work, which I don't like. It was not part of my agreement. So if I have been given my tasks I've completed, I hated the fact that they would now start giving me tasks for someone else. So if I'm fast enough, I finish my work and all that. I want to do something I like, something I'm passionate about. I don't want you to give me tasks that it's not in a field that I enjoy. So that's how I
busy work. Busy work.
Huh? Yeah.
Busy work, and then trying to keep up, the the people who aren't performing, now you have to keep them up. I definitely get that. So you did that for a very short time, and you're like, this is not for me.
I quit by the way. I didn't even write resignation letter. I just stopped going to work, and that was it. So I just decided now I have to find something else to do because these bills are not going to pay themselves. Nairobi is not a cheap city to live in. Of course, if you look at it in USD, fine, it's cheap. But looking at it and the money that people make in Kenya, it's the most expensive city to live in. So that was hard. So I had to look for other solutions. I started some other business. Started a shop and stuff like that. So I did a lot of things. And when you start businesses and they start performing, and then you actually realize that you can actually make money without being employed, and you realize that you're actually making more money compared to what you would have received on employment. Because basically, if I would have gone to get a job in my field with the government, I would probably have started with about 200 and something dollars a month, or 300 and something dollars per month. Like that's something. I think I was so ambitious. I didn't want small money.
Well, you did want small money, and you didn't want to be dependent on, a man to provide and say, hey, I'm sure you've had, bride price offers where you can sit back if you accept this offer. But with that also comes, you have to listen and do everything else that you may not want to do, and be like, that's not for me. I don't want to have to do anything. Talk about, how do you think you have impacted the African YouTube space, being one of the few Black women who does not, focus on beauty or makeup, and you're talking about real issues. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. I can say a lot of Africans, to begin with, continental Africans, a lot of issues I talk about, they don't relate, because I believe after lots of years of colonization, the education system that is not meant for us, so a lot of people don't get to see issues as I see them. And I don't blame them, because my experience has been different from their experience, the interaction, because also traveling does open your eyes, and meeting some people, there are people that you meet that make you realize, okay, so my life has been a lie. Oh, so this history we learned is actually a lie. Because the education system is in a manner that we don't even question. We are told so and so discovered Mount Kenya. We are like, yeah, he discovered. Exams come. Who discovered Mount Kenya? It's in the, you have to write that person. So it's like some sort of conditioning, mental conditioning that happens in the education system. So sometimes when I'm having these conversations, a lot of people don't relate to. They don't relate to, especially continental Africans. Sometimes I get calls from people, they asking me questions and all that. Some would say, oh no, I don't agree with you, it's about this and that. But I believe it's a good thing, because it's actually starting to make them think. When I get people questioning me, why did you say this and all that, I believe it is actually making people to like really see the other side apart from what you were just taught. And I believe this kind of conversations will actually be impactful to many people. There are people who listen to me, and I've started noticing a lot of continental Africans supporting me and listening, and then they're like, for sure, that thing you said, it's actually true. Like, it makes them to start questioning, but why were we told about this in school? Why were we? So it's just providing that alternative. Where does the media do this? It's just providing that alternative media, and actually making people, it's like people in some sort of, I can say some sort of slumber. So it's like making people to start waking up and open their eyes.
Okay, so that's, it's almost like you are this generation's, there's so many African women who have led. And on this side, where media shows women, equal to men, can say what they want. It's just kind of, interesting that many women in Africa still feel like they are held back. I know that, I get frustrated and have guests on here talking about, the genital mutilation. and or they're from organizations where, you know, men just don't get it. Again, it's those same 65 and up men saying, what's wrong? We've always done things like this, but you're really changing things for a whole continent. How do you deal with the stress of, you know, being a influencer, being a role model? Do you ever find it scary or overwhelming?
Yes, sometimes it's overwhelming when you're trying to like really show people something, providing them with facts, and then they just ignoring, and you're just trying to tell people, could you see this other perspective? Could you just try and see, like, it's so overwhelming. Sometimes you feel like you are alone in this. You feel like you're pushing for something alone, and it can be discouraging because everybody else is just trying to follow the other routes, the way with the conditioned route, how you should do things and all that. So it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Even those sometimes even those who understand, you only understand one side of it. So when you know so much, sometimes it's hard to live a normal life
Yeah,
because you cannot unknow what you already know.
yeah,
You cannot ignore it and go back to how you were previously, because you are previously the same spot that they are in. Sometimes if it were possible, maybe that would have been an easier option, because you feel like it's your responsibility now to teach and educate people. And yeah, of course, sometimes we also have to be careful with our lives. You might call out something, say some truth that some people don't want it to be known. So yeah, you also have to be careful with that. And yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you have to also censor or watch what you say, or say it in a politically correct way.
talking about being politically correct, let's talk about some of the, you know, stereotypes on both ends that you have heard, you know, Africans say about African Americans, and vice versa. Like, what are some things that stand out to you? Because I could go on for days, but I want to hear, you know, your response.
Well, one that I've had, sadly, for both sides, they believe, oh, African Americans hate us, or Africans hate us. So there's that I don't like it. It's like overwhelming, like hate, 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 hate. It's always hate. And oh, they discriminate us, they don't like us. I mean, that's one thing I always hear. And then oh, they say, oh, African Americans, oh, Africans are so weak, oh, so docile, so what, oh, can you do this, why can't you kick those people out of your land, why can't you do this? But looking at it on the other side, I'm like, but a lot of people are being oppressed on your side, but you're not fighting. You're only taking photos and recording. Why can't you also take it physical, like you're advising us?
Yeah, yeah. What about, you know, with the hate? It's gone both ways. Like, you have, you know, black people. You've been to America. You have black people say, you know, they hate us, or they'll say, and this one really bothers me because it's even bigger than Africans and African Americans. But I've heard it even in Africa, in different African stores. But people saying, "Oh, those people stink over there," or "Oh, they don't like deodorant," and I've heard South Africans say about West African shops, "It stinks in there," and it's, you know, it smells. And at the same time, you would have a racist person say that same thing about a South African. And it's like, you know, there can be cultural smells, that you might not be familiar with, maybe you like. But have you heard that one? And I don't think I've seen a show on that one yet where you have like a whole panel, of people. Maybe I'm causing, you know,
I
so I'm
think
have some friction in YouTube. I'm causing an episode.
I think I've not, basically, maybe in East Africa, I've not really had a lot about that. The only stereotypes, for sure, I've had is people saying, oh, the Muslim community and the spray they use, the Somalis and all that they use, it's just that. But I've never heard about African Americans and Africans saying, maybe I've not in my cycles, but it's not something maybe very common in East Africa, maybe. I've not heard about the smelling, like, oh, these people smell and all that. I've never heard, but I think it's just BS. Like, really? Really, how can you see? I mean, the racist, the racist and the WS always say like, oh, black people stink, black people this, and now you're still using the same stereotype that when it's used on you, you feel so bad. You want to use it on your brother or whatever. If somebody is not using deal or whatever, and you want, just tell the person like, hey, you need to do this, eh? Like in a brotherly manner or sisterly manner, do it. Like just tell the person, don't go on starting stereotyping because you met one person who didn't smell according to your expectations. But I'm talking about cultural smells and all that. Maybe it's not in Kenya. I've not heard about cultural smells and all that.
Well, you say you heard it with the Muslims, or or the Somalis and Middle East, which I love incense, and I burn incense. I love incense, but I do know there's many people, and especially Africans, have come to my house, family members, whatever, friends, and they're like, oh, incense. And depending where they're from, they have, they might love it, they might hate it. Doesn't matter. It's my house, but I like incense. And so I find that one to be interesting because I've sat in meetings with African groups that have migrated to America, and that's actually been a topic of discussion. And I'm like, wow. And this is in hot Louisiana where we're all sweating like goats. I mean, it's hot. Nairobi, Mombasa doesn't have anything on Louisiana. Humidity, it's just hot. So, it's just an interesting topic. With, your startups and, you say, no revenue. Have you looked at venture capital, also known as vulture capital, because they are vultures, are angel investors for your startup?
Well, we are in the process of getting some, and some, if the deal is not good, we don't take it. So far, that's what I can say. If the deal is not, we're not getting a good deal yet, but at the moment, we're making progress. We're making progress. That's all I can say.
Okay, now are you not getting a good deal because, like, just learning how venture capitalists think, which is different than what your typical, I mean, your MBA program is not going to teach you what a venture capital, how they think. That's a process, you need to go through the process. You need to have more than just a pitch deck. But we find like many startups are like a pitch deck. I have a deck. What's the difference? And there's a big difference. But is it just a learning process, or are you finding that, finding people to connect with in Nairobi is just difficult?
No, it's not difficult as such, but getting the right person.
Okay, because you know a lot of people.
You can't, if someone is investing in your company, you can't give like almost all the powers to the person for us, like they want so much for little, so you won't take that deal.
Oh, so they're bad. We call that bad dating. They want a lot, don't want to give a little. Want to take you to McDonald's, but at the end of the night, they want to, go to the Sheraton or something, the Hilton. That's so it's just talk about your startup, because it's in healthcare, I believe, and I love healthcare businesses. Talk about what problem you guys are solving with the startup.
Basically, our startup is called Afya Chap Chap, which is basically a mobile and web platform that connects healthcare service providers to potential clients who are patients or people who need the healthcare services. That's just basically it. And the reason we're doing it, it's because sometimes finding a healthcare provider is very hard. Initially, I think I mentioned that the intake of insurance in Kenya is less than 4%. So a lot of people don't have health insurance because a number of people just have enough to live, they earn and they have enough to eat. But should a calamity strike, they're going broke and whatever. They like, if it's sickness and all that, they're going broke. So besides linking these patients to a healthcare provider, we also link them to emergency credit providers, the online credit providers, whereby they can get emergency medical loan and then they can be able to pay it over a period of time. So the platform is in a manner that as a patient, when you sign into the platform, you are able to search and locate the healthcare service provider that you need. If let me say I'm here in Nairobi and I'm feeling unwell, I need a dentist. And I don't know where is the nearest dentist I will get, because services like dentists, they are not everywhere. You have to know the ratio of, because of the ratio of patients to doctor is very low. Like there are more patients than doctors. It's like 1 to 10,000. The country has about 7,000 doctors registered for a population of 48 million. So
now with that, I would think, if there were so few doctors that they might have like a medical complex row, like they all, come together and they're in one area. So, if you're in the place, like let's say the Westlands, you can easily find someone, which, but it's not like that. Like you really have to know somebody to find a doctor. Why are not more people going to school to become doctors and dentists?
It's expensive first. The qualification are also very high. The qualification, you have to get like straight A's. And also it's expensive, and also passion. There, you see, one of the things that discourages people, it's they'll have to deal with dead bodies in the course of their studies and all that, and not everybody is into that. There are people who fear death and all that. Death is something that people don't even talk about easily. It's something that will happen, but people really don't talk about it. It's something that people fear. So some people will not take it simply because they can't imagine relating to. Some drop along the way. Some students drop along the way because they realize it's something that they can't deal with it. You see, healthcare is a calling. Working in the healthcare, it's like a calling. If you don't have the heart and whatever, you will not be successful in the field.
Now, is the money there? Here in the States, if you are in healthcare, the higher you go, the more money you can, make a very healthy 6-figure, depending on your specialty, maybe even higher money. Like brain surgeons out here can make $1 million a year. Can you make great money doing those things in Kenya?
Yes. Of course, I cannot say great in comparison, like the same amount of money with the US, because also, the standards of living is different. You probably pay $2,000 for your house or $1,000 for a house, but in Kenya, you'd probably pay a house $400, $300. So doctors are among the highest. It's very hard not to have a job if you're a doctor. You can't, unless you just don't want.
Okay.
And also the ones now in private practice, and also due to the shortage, of doctors. So you find one doctor who's working, they have like, on this day, I'll be working on this hospital. On this day, I'll be working on this hospital. On this day, I'll be working on my clinic, on this day. So you have to know where they are at specific points. And that is where we also come in, because the doctors are also limited. And we also the different places they work, the fee that they charge is very different. So you are feeling unwell and you want a doctor to provide you with maybe dental services, but this is your budget. So you can be able to log into the platform. You see the list of dentists who is closest to you and the amount they charge. So you're able to make a booking. You can also see the rating depending on the user ratings. So you're able to get at least a doctor who you can afford within your budget, and also providing you quality, affordable healthcare services.
And I say, if you have, we love everything about Africa, but when you go to an African hospital, I can only imagine if you don't have the money, you're like a prisoner. You're stuck until you can get the money, and that's even if you have the money. You gotta run to the bank and go grab this bundle. I've had to deal with that situation, and with these loans that you're giving, are these interest-free loans?
No, basically, people still take loans. They cannot be interest free, because at the end of the day you'll still need a loan. And the loans that you're giving, it's not us as Afia Chap Chap who are actually giving the loan. We have partnered with credit providers, the lenders, the digital lenders. We partnered with the digital lenders. You know, digital money and lending is quite common and popular in Kenya. So we partnered with them. So even the what is it called? Whatever the criteria they use to make you qualify is on them. So the burden is not on us. We're just actually facilitating. Only that we'll negotiate. You'll get it at a lower rate than if you booked directly through the digital lenders. So we are just an intermediary for that. Like, you can get a digital loan on your phone to help you facilitate or to top on to what you are getting as in the healthcare, as the bill for your healthcare services. And not that this digital loan, it will not come to your phone as Kellen. No, it goes to the healthcare service provider whom you have requested or whom you are getting the services from. It's
Is
not
there
coming.
is there any way for these loans to be kind of crowdfunded, where, let's say, it's kind of like we pick stock or we pick different investments. If we say we want to put our money in these, or if there's particular patients, maybe you have a heart for cancer patients, and is there a way to have this, since you're dealing with lenders anyway, for outside lenders, possibly foreigners, to say, hey, I want to put my money towards this because I know I'm not going to lose money, because people are always going to be sick, they're always going to need money. And is that possible or even legal in Kenya?
Yeah, it's legal. I mean, that would mean we'll have to have another model whereby we are the ones who are doing it and the people. But at the moment, we're focusing on this part of the development first, because it would be, if we go into everything at once, it would be too much for us to handle. So that
Okay.
is something that you can work on later on. At the moment, it's easier. It removes, because there's a lot. It would make the process longer for us and our business, because getting all those permits, the regulation by the banking sector, because now you've started handling the money, banking sector and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of work for us now. So that is why we are basically, if someone fails to repay and whatever, it is not on us, it's on the lenders. For us, we just provided a platform to link you with the lenders.
If people do fail to pay, how does collections work in Kenya?
They get listed with the CRB, that is Credit Regulation Bureau. So that means you'll never access money. You'll never access any other loan in your life until you pay that. So you'll get listed. So it's like you're blacklisted. So be it a bank, be it any other financial institution, you'll never get money because you have a debt remaining. And sometimes they could auction you. You could be auctioned. You could be arrested and stuff like that.
Wow, you could be arrested for not paying your debt.
Yeah.
Wow. Are prisons, jails privatized at all? Where
No, it's public.
it's all public. Wow. Okay, that's they used to have that in America, the debtor's prison. They do it a different way now. They still do it, but they've remixed the law So they say that you can't go to jail for not paying your debt, but it does happen. That's interesting. I was just wondering, how they put up the collateral. Because on this side, you always hear people say, you can't do that business in Africa because Africans will just run off with the payment. And you're like, hold on. Most Africans pay their rent, far in advance, unlike Americans who everything is month to month. Your car payment, everything is check to check. So, no, this is good game. Now, Tigeress, I want to ask you, with all your success and everything that you're doing, what is your community give back that you are doing now or that you want to do in the future?
Well, I'll still go back to the organization that whatever I was doing in my community, we were creating resource centers for the youth and women, especially those ones who are lacking employment, or the women or the young girls who drop out of school due to early pregnancies and all that. So probably just teaching them skills like tailoring, carpentry, masonry, skills that they can employ themselves or get other jobs, because I think our education system basically focused us onto being lawyers, bankers, teachers, and whatever. So a lot of people have ended up being lacking employment because we are all looking for blue collar. But you'd be surprised that someone who's very good in carpentry and whatever is making way more than a bank manager.
Okay. No, this is good stuff, and all of African Tigress's links for everything, even her startup that she sometimes hides on YouTube and doesn't mention, that it will be there so you guys can see, and if you can, make a positive impact, make sure you reach out to her. I'm just so happy to have you on to talk about business. That's probably one of my favorite topics to talk about. Talk about business and Jesus, and talk about how none of us are perfect in either of those. But I appreciate you, and you guys have gotten the game. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Keep having the African Tigress movement rise and be blessed.